Tonight on CTV News, could the controversial street signs force the council to go back to the drawing board? A Canterbury student with a big challenge to feed the world. And just how bad has our flu season been?
Broadcasting across Canterbury, from the CTV studio, this is First at 5.
Good evening, welcome to CTV News, now streaming live every night at ctv.co.nz. Well, controversial street signs proposed for Central City have got the council thinking, not about the need for them, but how it divvies up funding for more permanent and temporary projects. Here's Jared McCulloch.
It's a project designed to help the public get around easier in the CBD, but it's come with its fair share of opinions. A committee meeting was held at the Christchurch City Council, discussing the idea of putting up the short-term wayfinding towers in the central city.
I think they're important for people, and they are part of the transition, and they will be with us for some time.
The council received feedback from both ratepayers and visitors who are finding it difficult to navigate the city, helping to point out strategic landmarks for people to find their way around the CBD. The 8-metre high towers would point out locations including the bus interchange, the Botanic Gardens and New Regent Street. When CTV News talked to ratepayers earlier this week, they were concerned about the money factor, with an estimated cost of up to $100,000 for all 4 towers.
Don't even tell me that. Don't even tell me that.
I'd put the money on something, rather put the money to something worthwhile,
Yeah, it's quite pricey, and really $100,000 is a lot of money considering there's still a lot of work to be done around the city. If it was a bit cheaper, it'd be fantastic, but, we've got to do some things around here to brighten it up a little bit.
However, Councillor Clearwater says the cost is justified.
There'll be 4 major towers. They are able to be moved as this is part of the transitional city. There's no question of that. And I think, any structure like that in our central city, keeping people safe is important. And so, we've had to seek special engineering advice to make sure that, in fact, they stand any high winds or, in any future events. So we want them to be well done.
The money for the project would come out of a budget already set aside, designed to help with short-term projects, as Christchurch continues to rebuild itself.
They've got a longer lifespan than the 5 years, but we would expect that they would remain in their current or where they're going to be first located for about 5 years.
However, the Mayor says it may be time to rethink the Council's transitional project budget.
That's an issue that will come up as we review the long-term plan through the annual plan process.
I think the transition is about change, and when you walk in a city, clearly it is changing. Part of it is only budding, and that's great, but people will still need to have some kind of assurance about where they are, and so I think this will be money well spent.
If the signs do go ahead, it's likely they'll be up by late October. Jared McCulloch, CTV News.
A trial date has been set for 3 prisoners charged with murdering a fellow inmate. 44-year-old Benton Parapa was bashed to death at Christchurch's men's prison in March. The 3 accused, thought to have gang connections, are currently in custody in Mount Eden Prison. Today, a trial date was made at the High Court in Christchurch. The trial is set for May next year and will last 3 weeks. Well, she's going to help feed the world. That's right, feed the world. An Ashburton student will be joining international delegates in Australia next week. They're aiming to find ways to feed the world's growing population.
It's a somewhat exciting time for Sarah Tate, being chosen as part of a New Zealand youth agricultural delegation.
There was an extra opportunity for a New Zealander to go along to represent our delegation as well, and I was lucky enough to be chosen.
She's heading across the ditch to be part of a 7-strong team of Kiwi leaders to discuss an ever-growing problem. More than 100 other young delegates from 33 countries will make their way to Canberra next week to discuss the issue of feeding the world.
We're going to be basically talking about the challenges and possible solutions that we have in front of us with food insecurity.
The conference is made up of guest speakers from government organisations and a chance for delegates everywhere to have their say on the growing issue. The 24-year-old studied at Lincoln University and now specialises in the agricultural sector here in Canterbury, and now hopes to share her knowledge with the rest of the world.
There are such an array of challenges, but the ones that I work closest to are the agricultural production issues, which includes on-farm agronomy to food production, but also looking after the product that we produce post-harvest. So that comes down to storage, supply chain, distribution, and really looking after that quality.
Other countries taking part in the global summit include China, the United States and Canada. Angie says it's not just the developing countries dealing with the struggle.
In the developed world, we have more issues, overconsumption, portion sizes, we're throwing away food, and that is leading to huge problems.
By 2050, the world's population is expected to grow by nearly 2 billion people. Angie says now's the time to find ways to make it easier for everyone, especially in agriculture.
But there are some really simple and safe agricultural technologies that we could take to some of these communities that essentially we could teach the teachers to be able to let those messages infiltrate throughout those communities, whether or not it's better irrigation management or better use of soil resources to avoid soil erosion.
Sarah says if modern agricultural techniques are put in place, the problem could help improve the situation overseas.
What opportunities we have in front of us is that we have the ability to intensify the agricultural land that we already have. So we needn't panic about going and cutting down rainforests. We could employ some really sensible and sustainable agricultural techniques to actually make some of this land more economic, more profitable, much more sustainable environmentally, and we can support some of our farming families much better.
The conference is set to run for 4 days next week, with Sarah hoping to trade her wealth of knowledge with the rest of the world. Jared McCulloch, CTV News.
A local woman has avoided a conviction for throwing a pot of hot oil over her partner. But despite being injured by the incident, her partner doesn't want her punished.
A woman has been given a discharge without conviction after throwing boiling cooking oil over her partner. At the Christchurch District Court today, 25-year-old Tammy Lee Rapana pleaded guilty to a charge of injuring with reckless disregard for her partner's safety. The court heard she threw the oil over her partner during an argument after the two had got home from a party. The judge decided on the ruling, saying Rapana had no previous convictions, no history of domestic violence, was unlikely to reoffend and was remorseful. The victim also supported the application for a discharge without conviction. Rapana will also make a $500 donation to the Women's Refuge. The judge said if Rapana did not make the donation within 28 days, the discharge without conviction would not apply and she would be resentenced.
Still to come here on CTV News, Canterbury's top apprentice is named and 4 men are fined for Canterbury's biggest illegal haul of cockles in Canterbury. Welcome back to CTV News. A former soldier is this year's top Canterbury Apprentice Master Builder. The 26-year-old moved into the carpentry world after helping survivors during the earthquakes, and he's not looking back. Here's Jared McCulloch.
Congratulations on last night.
Thanks.
What was it like?
Oh, it was amazing. To be honest, there was a room full of people with equal calibre as myself, so it was quite surprising that I got chosen.
Did you ever think you'd get first place in this competition?
No, I didn't, to be honest. I was encouraged to do it by my boss, and it turns out it was a good decision on his part. Good judgment by him, yeah.
Because what kind of criteria is there to become, I guess, Apprentice of the Year? Because what do you have to do?
So you have to have done 2 years of your apprenticeship at the very least, and you can enter right up until you finish your apprenticeship a year past your completion date. So that was quite lucky for me because I finished my apprenticeship in February.
Right, and of course there's obviously, you compete with other people, and you mentioned too, obviously, the same calibre and stuff like that too, but obviously it must be quite rewarding for you though, is it?
Yeah, I think it's quite a good recognition of the amount of effort that I've put into my job, my career, and the long hours I've put into the job and the study and training, and so it is good to be recognised for it, yeah.
I want to talk about those long hours, because obviously you're working a lot of Christchurch rebuild. it's very much so that Christchurch is the place to be, isn't it, for your job?
Oh, definitely. It's a thrive activity, and in the jobs that I've worked on, I've done everything from earthquake repairs to residential new builds to commercial new builds, shop fitting, anything building, you name it, pretty much done it in the last 4 years.
Did you ever think you'd be doing that much stuff? Did you ever think that'd be, when you got into this career and you think, what was the feeling?
To be honest, when I started building, my views on what a builder actually did were quite limited, and from spending the amount of time I have in the industry, it opens your eyes to what the trade actually does. Your possibilities are endless. Once you've got that trade under your belt, the world's your oyster.
Do you want to talk about some of the projects you have worked on that have really been quite inspiring for you? Because obviously that you get there in this kind of, in your career that you've got, especially in mine too, but in yours as well. What's been something that's really stood out for you as something that you've been really proud of?
Well, the last project I worked on was the thing I entered the competition on was a furniture store, and what it was a expansion of this furniture store, and which posed quite a tricky situation because we had existing tenants, in the building that we were adding to, and that posed all sorts of health and safety issues and whatnot. So that was quite a tricky rebuild. Before that, I was working on the new Farmers development in Hornby Mall. So that's the new Farmers flagship store after their city centre store was earthquake damaged and destroyed. So that was quite rewarding to be able to put such a big building back into the community.
Absolutely. It's not stopping anytime soon either, is it? It's obviously the rebuild still continues on, doesn't it?
That's right, yeah.
Let's talk about too some of the things that got you interested in doing this job in the first place. What made you want to be a builder?
So I was actually I was a member of the New Zealand Army at the time of the earthquakes, and being in the city centre on the cordon operations, it was quite an eye-opening thing to see the city I've grown up in, collapsed around me. So when the time came to make a wee choice about the next career move, it was pretty obvious what I should have done. I mean, good at my hands, quite an analytical thinker, and didn't really take a genius to put two and two together and get on the tools.
So obviously from that day and obviously helping out in that sort of area, you looked around and thought, actually I want to be a part of this.
That's right, yeah. It's pretty rewarding to be able to do it too.
Absolutely. Yeah. Of course, now it's been 5 years, it's nearly getting close to 5 years on now. How do you think the progression of buildings come over that time? Do you think it's...
Oh, it's amazing. You walk around the city centre and you see all these new buildings going up and you think it's actually, it's really starting to hit home now. It's really starting to get, wheels rolling. It won't... it's phenomenal to see. It's, picked up a gear and it's going forward now.
Absolutely. I think now's probably more time than ever where it's actually driving force as well.
That's right.
I want to talk about too just some of the other people that have got there. Obviously it goes for a second, third. You had some mate. Do you know those other guys as well?
Leeds Construction actually has quite an active apprenticeship scheme, and we meet monthly. The guys are through different stages of their careers. There's first years there, there's second years there, third years. So every month we meet up, have a yarn about what we're doing, and
So you're almost, as you said earlier, obviously on equal levels as such, really. Even though there's a first, second, and third, you're all kind of.
Oh yeah, we're all definitely mates and like to share our experiences and whatnot, which helps.
Where are you to from here now? What's the next steps for you now?
So my career goal is to be the most sought after construction manager in the country, and I see a company like Leeds Construction can definitely take me there.
Fantastic, awesome. Well, congratulations again on that. It's fantastic, and all the best.
Cheers.
Congratulations, positive story indeed. Flu illnesses are still rising. The last few weeks of winter, flu consultations have risen nearly 25% compared to earlier this month. Flu is now at epidemic levels in South Canterbury, with the region reporting the most cases in New Zealand. 2 strands have been reported this winter, and this year has seen some of the worst flu outbreaks in the last 5 years. 4 men have been fined today for hauling the biggest illegal catch of cockles in Canterbury. The men have also had their cars confiscated after being caught red-handed by fisheries officers.
4 men have lost their cars and been fined $8,000 for what's likely the biggest local theft of cockles. The men were sentenced in the Christchurch District Court today for illegally hauling 10,548 cockles from Saltwater Creek Lagoon in April. The haul was more than 3 times the legal recreational limit of 150 cockles per person. Biao Mao 24, Ji Jing 53, Wino Mao 22 and Jiao Lu 46, all from Christchurch, have each been fined $2,000. The two vehicles they were driving have been confiscated. The Ministry of Primary Industries says they had received a tip-off that a group had taken a very large amount of shellfish near the mouth of the Ashley River. After spending 3 hours gathering the shellfish, MPI staff stopped the men, finding the overcatch in 9 sacks. Ngāi Tahu says it's grateful to the locals for keeping an eye out for the shellfish stocks in the lagoon. It says along with being an important food source, they are an important part of the ecosystem as they clean waterways. The MPI's district manager says the catch is the largest haul of cockles in living memory taken from the Canterbury area, and may well be the largest illegal haul in New Zealand for many years.
Still to come here on CTV News, the weekend sport preview and the region's weather. Welcome back to CTV News. Now here's Gordon Finlater with a preview of the weekend sport.
Round 2 of the ITM Cup sees Canterbury host their first match at AMI Stadium, taking on Counties Manukau this Sunday. The two teams met just 2 weeks ago when the Red and Blacks travelled north to Pukekohe in pre-season. Counties took the honours on that occasion with a 29-21 win. Canterbury will look to take on board the lessons they learnt from the pre-season match.
Yeah, that's right. We only played them a couple of weeks ago. They really punished us with their sort of physicality and their ability just to play. They exposed us a couple of times on D and you know, they capitalised that. So, you know, we're coming up against a good team. They're all athletes. They can all play a bit of ball and you know, they're out there to play. So.
A good crowd is hoped to be in attendance for Sunday's home game, with thousands of tickets being offered for free to rugby clubs and referees. The club day will also see the Canterbury players sporting their own club rugby socks in a nod to the grassroots element of the game.
The boys are all wearing their club socks for the weekend. Yeah, it is an important thing. You know, the guys don't get there by themselves. The clubs play a huge role for individuals and just the community, and they do a lot for that. So the guys are representing that, and they're all proud of where they come from. So yeah, it should be good.
Kick-off at AMI Stadium is at 4:35. While still with rugby, and the UC Championship Secondary Schools competition will see one school reach the pinnacle in tomorrow's grand final. St Bede's and Shirley Boys High will battle it out at Rugby Park, with the winner entitled bragging rights for the next 12 months and the chance to qualify for this year's National Secondary School Championship. Kick-off tomorrow is at 2:45. However, if you can't make it to the game, we'll have it live streaming at ctv.co.nz. You can also see coverage of the match right here on CTV this Sunday at 12:30 and 5:30. And finally tonight, the World Rally Championship moves to Germany this weekend for the 9th stop on the calendar. Geraldine's Hayden Paddon will look to prove his talents aren't just limited to the gravel, with the Kiwi fine-tuning his tarmac skills leading into the event. After a string of promising finishes, including a career-best second at the Rally of Sardinia, Paddon's luck ran out at the last event in Finland after being caught out by a rock and having his first big wreck in the WRC. Paddon's chance to bounce back begins later on tonight, with the first of 3 days of rallying getting underway. You're up to date with the latest in local sport. I'm Gordon Finlater for CTV Sport.
Well, many of us are always on the go or in a hurry, aren't we? So to keep up to date with CTV News in 1 minute, you can always go to CTV's Facebook page. There you'll find the Minute Bulletin, which is updated at 7 p.m. every night here at CTV. Just head to facebook.com/Canterbury Television, and Mercy there presents the nightly weather forecast there as well, and of course your 1 minute bulletin right here on CTV. And don't forget to catch up with CTV News, just head to ctv.co.nz. There we post the entire bulletin weeknights on CTV. Well, now Mercy is here with the regional weather forecast for your weekend.
Kia ora Canterbury. Well, it was cold and crunchy underfoot this morning. However, we saw a picture-perfect day overhead today with those sunny skies. First up, today's highs, 12 degrees for Timaru, 10 degrees for Temuka and Geraldine. Central Canterbury, 12 degrees was also shared by almost everyone here. That includes Christchurch, Akaroa, Leeston, Darfield and Ashburton. However, Methven, you were on 10 degrees. North Canterbury, 12 degrees was also shared by Kaikoura, Cheviot, Culverden and Oxford. A little bit warmer for Amberley and Rangiora on 13 degrees and Hanmer Springs on 9. 9 degrees was also shared by Mount Cook today. Tomorrow's weather for the major centres. Saturday's looking good for you, Timaru. 12 degrees for your high and sunny skies. Could be a little bit frosty in the morning though, with 0 for your morning start. Get those slippers ready. Ashburton, 11 degrees for your high, and again lovely blue skies for your Saturday, 2 degrees for your morning. Christchurch, you can expect sunny skies, light winds and a few sea breezes in the afternoon. 12 degrees for you also, and again another chilly start. Kaikoura, northeasterly winds for you, 12 degrees for your high as well, and sunshine coming your way. The rest of the Canterbury region can also expect a lovely, calm, sunny day. 10 degrees for Temuka and Geraldine, 11 for Waimate, and light winds for you guys. Central Canterbury, you can also expect this lovely, settled weather. We're seeing 13 degrees for Darfield and Akaroa. Darfield also a few cloudy patches, but that sunshine will definitely be peeking through. North Canterbury, sunny skies for everyone here as well. 12 degrees for Amberley, but everyone else on 13 degrees. And over to the Alpine region, you can expect highs very similar to what they were today. Looking to the weekend, Sunday, we're expecting the temperatures to increase on Sunday. A few cloudy patches for Christchurch and Kaikoura, but lovely temperatures there, and again, those light winds coming on through. Monday, we're seeing high cloud for most places, gentle northerly winds, but still quite calm and settled. The rest of the Canterbury region on Sunday, it can also expect the blue sky overhead. As we head further north, a few more cloudy patches, but nothing too harmful. We're also expecting sea breezes in the afternoon for most places on Sunday. Monday, northerly winds and a few showers there for inland basins. Everywhere else should be dry and fine with high cloud in the sky. So, a lovely couple of days coming up ahead. I hope you all have a fantastic weekend, and we'll see you back here on Monday.
Going to be a lovely looking weekend, so I hope you can get outside and enjoy the sunshine. Thank you so much for joining us all this week here at CTV. Have a great Friday night.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.